Now coming is the continuation of the first part. After the materials were placed inside the chamber, we close the lid and screws are air tightened to ensure an airtight condition, and then we can switch on the electrical heater. The safety valves are adjusted to maintain a required pressure inside the chamber. So that's why the safety valves are crucial in autoclave. Once the water inside the chamber starts boiling, the air-water mixture is allowed to escape through the discharge tube to let all the air inside to be displaced. So the air can be displaced completely through this discharge tube. The complete displacement can be ensured once the water bubble stops to come out from the pipe. When the water bubble stops to come out from the pipe, this ensures air has been completely displaced. The drainage pipe is then closed and the steam inside starts to reach a desired level. That means 15 lbs in most cases. Once the pressure is reached at this 15 lbs, the whistle blows to remove excess pressure from the chamber. After the whistle, the autoclave is run for a holding period. Then it runs for a holding period which is 15 minutes in most cases. So this 15 lbs in 15 minutes at a temperature 121 degrees Celsius. It is the temperature of a normal autoclave. Now the electrical heater is after this attaining this temperature 121 degrees Celsius at 15 lbs for 15 minutes holding period. Then we can switch off this electric heater and the autoclave is allowed to cool until the pressure gauge inside the pressure indicates the pressure inside has lowered down. So the pressure gauge which gives us the indication by measuring, now the pressure has come to the lower, that is comes down under this 15 lbs and it is lowered down to that which is equal to that of the atmospheric pressure. Then the discharge tubes, after this lowering this pressure which becomes equal to this atmospheric pressure, this discharge pipe is then opened which allow what entry of the air from the outside into the autoclave. Then after it, finally we are opening the lid and the sterilized materials are taken out of the chamber. Next is about types of autoclave. There are different types of autoclaves present in the market, some of which are pressure cooker type or laboratory bench autoclave. This type is most commonly used in our colleges, hospitals, etc. These as domestic pressure cookers are still in use in many parts of the world. The more modern type has a metal chamber with a secure metal lid that can be fastened and sealed with a rubber gasket. It has an air and steam discharge tap, the pressure gauge and safety valves, and also there is an electrical immersion heater which are present in the bottom of the chamber. Next type of autoclave is gravity displacement type autoclave. This is the commonest type of autoclave used in laboratories. In this type of autoclave, a steam is created inside the chamber through the heating unit which then moves around the chamber for sterilization, this heat. This type of autoclave is comparatively cheaper than other types. Next is positive pressure displacement type or B type. In this type of autoclave, a steam is generated in a separate steam generator, which is then passed into the autoclave. This autoclave is faster as the steam can be generated within the seconds. So steam can be generated within the seconds, and this type of an autoclave, it is an improvement over the gravity displacement type. This is much more advanced type. Next type is S-type or negative pressure displacement type. This is also another type of autoclave which contain both the steam generator as well as the vacuum generator. Here, the vacuum generator pulls out all the air from inside the autoclave. So, every air is removed through this vacuum generator while the steam generator creates the steam. Then, the steam is then passed into the autoclave. After creating the steam, it is passed to the autoclave, and this is the most recommended type of autoclave, and it is very accurate and achieves a high sterility assurance level. This is also the most expensive type of autoclave. Next is the uses of autoclave. Autoclaves are important devices to ensure the sterilization of materials containing water, as they cannot be sterilized by dry heat. Dry heat means it sterilizes the materials which are kept dry. Besides, autoclaves are used for the various other purposes. They are also used to decontaminate specific biological waste and sterilize media. It is used for the media sterilization, for the decontaminating biological waste, as well as it sterilizes instruments and labware. Regulated medical waste that might contain bacteria, viruses and other biological materials are recommended to be inactivated by autoclaving before disposal. So, before the disposal of these microorganisms, it is recommended for autoclaving to inactivate these microorganisms. In medical laboratories, autoclaves are used to sterilize medical equipments, glasswares, surgical equipments and medical wastes. Similarly, the autoclaves are used for the sterilization of culture media and also autoclavable containers, plastic tubes and pipette tips. These are all sterilized using these autoclaves. Next, we should remember about the precautions. Although the autoclaves are pretty simple to use, but there are certain rules of precautions to be followed while operating an autoclave. Some of the important precautions are given below. We should follow while running an autoclave are: autoclaves should not be used to sterilize waterproof or water resistant substance like oil or powders, because it might get wet, and this oil or powders are usually sterilized using hot air oven. The autoclave should not be overcrowded and the material should be loaded in a way to ensure sufficient penetration of articles by the steam. So it should not be overloaded. The items to be autoclaved should always be placed in a secondary container. So they should be placed not directly, it should be always placed in a secondary container. Only autoclavable bags are to be used to autoclave packaged waste. So the packaged waste are usually placed inside the autoclave in an autoclavable bags. To ensure the sufficient penetration, articles should be wrapped in something that allows the penetration by heat, which should allow the steam penetration. And materials like aluminium foils should not be used in the autoclave. These aluminium foils are usually used in hot air oven. The items placed inside the chamber should not touch the sides or the top of the chamber, and the wastes and the clean items should be autoclaved separately. So waste should be autoclaved separately, clean items, otherwise there is a chance of mixing together, causing massive contamination. Attempt to open the lids when the autoclave is working should never be made. Why? Because there will be a higher chance of explosion. So don't make those attempts. Then next point, the liquid components should never be autoclaved in sealed containers because it doesn't ensure proper sterilization. The liquid inside the containers should only be filled 2/3 of the total volume to prevent the spilling of the fluid. Then the plastic or polyethylene trays or containers should not be used because they might melt and damage the autoclave. So don't use plastic or polyethylene trays. Besides, never autoclave flammable, reactive, corrosive, toxic or radioactive materials as well as household bleach or paraffin embedded tissues. So we should not autoclave this type of items. The paper should not be placed directly inside an autoclave because why? As it is a combustible substance, it should be autoclaved in a waste bag on a bio bag setting to prevent fire. So these are all about the autoclaves. So we have already discussed working definition, working principle, procedure, precautions, uses of the autoclave. Thank you.